Hi, everyone. Welcome to our tech talk on reduced manual efforts and process forms and documents faster using AWS machine learning. I'm Andrea Morton-Yeomans, a product marketing manager focused on intelligent document processing, or IDP, and I'll be joined by my colleague Raj, a product manager on Amazon TechStract. First, we wanted to just say Raj and I are going to take a different approach to this tech talk. We're going to shake things up a bit. We know that you have probably been watching a lot of events online, and given the current state of where we are today, we wanted to present our tech talk backwards. So I'm going to go to the agenda slide and kind of tell you what that means. So I'm just going to quickly go over what the challenges are in processing documents at scale and just briefly walk you through those so that you kind of have a setup for what we're going to talk about. And then I'm going to hand it to Raj, and he's going to do kind of a scenario that you as a developer will have probably been in or have been asked these questions before. And that solution or that scenario is going to lead you to how to process invoices and receipts using Amazon TechStract. Once he's gone through the deep dive and you can see the hands-on demo that he's going to provide, I'm going to come back and I'm going to talk about how AWS can help in intelligent document processing and how we kind of think about it at AWS. I'm going to talk about some of the services that can help you do that. And then we're going to get started. I'm going to show you how to get started and more resources to learn and continue this conversation. So let's get started. So the first point here, billions of documents are created daily. Gartner states that there's 25% of growth in paper each year, which to me sounds not like a lot, but when you really think about documents, that's a lot of documents that are created every year. And with that, they come in various types and formats, layouts. Some have dense text, like legal contracts. Some have a mix of dense text or like a little bit of text and some tables, while others come in table or more table format like invoices and receipts, or even a receipt kind of comes in different formats. This makes it really difficult for our customers to process documents at scale because not every piece of document looks the same. Second, you're not only do you have a massive amount of documents, but traditional organizations hire people to read and understand the content within those documents. And then they put that information into systems that further process and analyze that data. This is slow, it's manual. You all know that it's, copying and like typing from the document into a computer system can be error prone, it's expensive. And so this can cause longer lead times to your end users. For example, we've seen mortgage companies spend tons and tons of time on, getting the applicant names or getting certain information out of a document and putting it into their system. This causes delays when you're the end user. I recently refinanced my house. Like the amount of paper and documents that came in that mortgage package was crazy. And so if you think about it, most companies take those documents back and they manually enter them into a system. And finally, traditionally, companies have been using optical character recognition, or OCR, which tends to be templatized or configured per layout, which breaks when you get a new document. Back to my example, think about that mortgage packet. There's pay stubs and W-2s and all these different types of documents that are in that packet. And if you haven't, in traditional OCR methods, you're training each one of those. And so if that format or layout varies and changes, it usually breaks. The other common issue our customers are facing is understanding what's within that document, and companies have to string together different types of technology like NLP and OCR to accomplish processing those documents. So now that we kind of understand the challenges in processing documents at scale, I'm going to turn it over to Raj. He's going to run through kind of a scenario of how you might overcome the situation that we're going to present. And again, Raj and I are trying to get you right into the deep dive because normally we wait until the end and you have to listen to us talk and talk and talk. So we're really trying to get you into the deep dive of how you might process invoices and receipts. Now, I know that you're thinking there are way more use cases to document processing, there's invoices and receipts. You're right, there are. There's loan applications, legal contracts, insurance claims. Like there's so many ways that you can talk about document processing. But today we're going to talk about invoices and receipts because we do see it as a large need for our customers. So I'll turn it over to Raj.
Thank you, Andrea. Hello, everyone. Very excited to be here. And I know, again, I agree with Andrea about how event fatigue has gotten all of us. So we're trying to change it up a little bit. I'm going to give you a scenario to begin with. And if you, as a developer, for example, imagine that you're tasked with automating extraction of specific data from your company's documents. So your manager or your business partner comes to you and says, hey, we have this situation where we want to extract information from these documents, but we want to automate it, and manual process is not cutting the bill for us anymore. So can you go figure this out? So that's the scenario. And let's see what, as a developer, we have this option to do in the next slide. So the scenario happens to be that your company wants to process these invoices and receipts, and your goal is to flag any of these documents with a due amount of $50 or more. So imagine a scenario, you're a company where your employees provide bills of receipts after they've purchased something. And so you have a company policy that says anything over $50 needs to be approved by a certain department. So what you've been tasked to do is to take these documents and go through and identify any document that has more than a total bill of $50. So what do you do? So first thing, as a developer, I would think that you would say, all right, good, you're asking me to do these things. Can you tell me what the document format is? What are your accuracy requirements? So those are the first things that you would ask to understand this problem a little bit better. The second thing you're going to do is not just jump into it, because we all know that ML and AI is the new thing. So pretty much everybody wants to go do that first. But as a developer, you don't do that. You determine whether writing code is better, or actually machine learning or AI is relevant in this use case or not. So that's what you would like to do. So how would you do that? You ask questions about whether these are templates, whether it is just straight text that resides in a specific part of the document that you're trying to get, or if there's documents are all over the place where ML might be the right thing to do. Third, you go figure out some open source solutions out there for image to text conversion. So what does that mean? So you understood that the format of these documents are actually images. So you look for managed solutions out there so that you can go leverage them to actually solve this problem. And then finally, fourth, you also want to understand whether there is semantic relationships within these fields or data in these documents, or is it just getting raw text out of these? So for example, what I mean by a semantic relationship is that, going back to the example of a mortgage application, you have documents that have information about name, and you have the name of the person, you have the address, you have their pay information, you have a bunch of different key value pairs, as we call them, in documents that you are interested in extracting. So you identify whether that is something that you would need also. And ultimately, after you've determined that yes, machine learning is going to be actually a thing that you're going to use to solve this particular problem, you're going to go on the internet and do some search. And if you are somebody who works with AWS a lot, you're going to search for what AWS has to offer in this space. And guess what? You have these services such as Amazon Textract that can actually do this particular problem for you, solve this problem for you. So in the next demo, I'm going to actually show you how you would end up doing this processing at scale. So let's jump into that. So after I do a quick search on the internet for processing invoices and receipts, I just happened to chance upon this blog that AWS has written. So again, I am putting myself in the shoes of you, the developer who's trying to do this job. So you quickly glance through this blog post and you say, ah, yada, yada, yada. Okay, I understand. There's this walkthrough that Amazon wants me to go through. There's some images of some receipts. They have some JSON response. And as I scroll through, I'm looking for a solution architecture that interests me. And as I still go through, all right, there it is. So I'm interested in this. So what do I do? I look at this solution architecture and let's figure out what are the different steps involved. So it looks like there is this first step that involves creating some S3 buckets. So there is an input S3 bucket and an S3 bucket for output. So what this solution architecture is telling me is that you're going to have to input some images of your receipts or invoices, and there is this event bridge. And what this event bridge is doing is it is listening for a S3 put object event. And when you actually upload a new receipt or an invoice, it is going to listen for that event. And once that event actually triggers, it is going to call this AWS Lambda function, which has this Amazon text track parser and a pretty printer library. And all this is doing is it is going to call this expense document or an analyze expense API for Amazon text track. And after the processing of that particular image is done, it gets the response back and it puts it in the output S3 bucket. So what are the steps here again? So there's this input and output S3 buckets that are created. There's this Amazon event bridge looking for an event of an input document. And then once the input document is uploaded, AWS Lambda is triggered. And then the Lambda function is going to get the output and put it back into your S3 bucket. So that's all it is. That's the 4 steps involved in this whole process. So what is AWS asking me to do? So here they're saying, okay, there's this choose launch stack. So there's a CloudFormation template that has been created in order for me to be able to test this. So let me just click on that and see what happens. So once I do that, it launches me into the AWS console, and I just really quickly go through the steps to configure and I acknowledge these steps to create IAM resources, and I just hit create stack. Okay, after a couple minutes of waiting, we see that the stack has been created, the CloudFormation stack has been created. So let's just really quickly go in and see what buckets have been created in the S3 folder. All right, so there you go. The first bucket that got created was the text track analyze expense demo logging bucket. So this is the third bucket that we didn't mention. It is just a bucket that is used to log all of the CloudTrail events as part of this process. So that's one bucket you need to be aware of. There is the demo source bucket, which is where you are going to actually input those different images that you like to process. And then there is this output bucket, which does not have anything at this moment. So let's just go back and real quick into the source bucket, upload a couple of documents. So I'm just going to add a couple of documents real quick into this bucket. So here I have 2 documents that I'm going to quickly upload and hit upload. All right, so there you go. The upload process is complete. So I'm going to close this. And what we've just done is we've initiated this whole process behind the scenes. So what we expect is that the event bridge has listened to the fact that two images were uploaded, and it has called Lambda, which in turn called Analyze Expense, which is Amazon TechStack's API for processing receipts and invoices. And if you go to the output bucket, there you go. So you see this default receipt and default invoice that I just uploaded. You have the output in the form of a .txt file. So what I'm going to quickly do here is try and download this and show you what the output looks like. So I download this and I'm going to go to the downloads folder and I'm going to open it for us to see what the output looks like. So there you go. All right, so let me just also show you what the image itself looked like so we can do a comparison next to each other. So here, if I go to the default receipt that I just uploaded, it was a Whole Foods Market receipt. And let's see what the output looks like. So in here, we just pretty printed this receipt next to each other. And here, this is what the output looks like. So what did Amazon TechStack do for me? It processed this receipt and it took out the vendor name, called it Whole Foods Market. There is net sales right here. It's 53.98. It showed me this. There's sold items 13. And it's something interesting here, subtotal. It has something in the brackets called subtotal. So what TechStack is doing is it is normalizing this value for me and showing that there is a subtotal here on the document, and it also has this normalized value called subtotal and the actual value here. And also for total and tax, it does the same thing. So there's these normalized fields that TechStack is able to automatically detect. So how does normalization that TechStack offers help you? So if you have receipts or invoices from multiple vendors that you work with, and different vendors have different ways of saying the same thing. For example, invoice number could be called invoice with the hash sign, or invoice NO dot, or invoice colon. All of those would be normalized to receipt underscore invoice underscore number on the TechStack end, so that you don't have to do this post-processing logic to get to the normalized value. So that's the additional value that TechStack provides. And here in this example, to the original problem that you're trying to solve, where you're trying to flag any receipts or invoices that are more than $50, you get the total value here as $55.64. So what you can do is build some logic on this JSON afterwards to flag this invoice as something that needs to have additional review based on your company policy. And also for line items, it did the same thing. It detected that there is a table of things that I purchased, and it pretty printed it and put it and provided this output to me. All right, so that is what TechStack has actually done for me in this particular solution architecture. So let's just go back to our demo here, and then let me show you real quick what you can actually expect, or what you can see to appreciate the code behind this Lambda function. So in here, if I go to the event bridge. This is the output. So as you can see, the actual code itself is a little bit larger than 2.2 MB. So that's why you cannot see the actual code. But guess what? That Lambda code is actually on GitHub. So if you go to this Amazon Textract Analyze Expense Processing Pipeline, you can see this lambda function.py. We could just click on that and see what this code does. So in here, as you can see, it is fetching information from the source bucket, and then it is putting information into the S3 output. And in turn, it's also calling analyze expense. And the options for pretty print are multiple here. So it just so happens for our example today, we used fancy grid, but depending on your own needs, there is these multiple items that you can choose from, or CSV and others. So latex is also another option. So what you can do with this, so apart from just being able to take this information and write it back to an S3 bucket, there's multiple things that you can do depending on your needs. So the fact that the input is an S3 bucket, you could have a web application or a mobile application where your customers or employees might be taking snapshots of their receipts and uploading it to your mobile application. And that in turn can end up in an S3 bucket. You can process them. And depending on your needs, again, maybe you've built a Node.js application in order to process this information. Or you can actually put it into a DynamoDB table as key value stores, or you can actually have an SNS topic for which you can maybe email the output to somebody. So the options and the output, or for the output and what you can do with this files are numerous. So depending on your needs, you should be able to determine what is the what do you want to do with the outcome. So going back to where we started again. So real quick, we looked at this solution architecture where we're using Amazon Textract's Analyze Expense, this new API that is used to process receipts and invoices. And we've used this simple solution architecture to start with an S3 bucket, put some images in there, used Event Bridge, a Lambda function, and some parser libraries that are open sourced in order to get the output that you require. With this, now you know how to get invoices or receipts and use this process to flag any of these documents which have a total of more than $50. All right, so let me turn it over to Andrea to tell you what else you can actually do beyond receipts and invoices processing based on your own requirements.
Thanks, Raj. That was really awesome. I'm sure everybody benefited from seeing how to process invoices and receipts with Amazon Textract. So this is the part of the presentation where we're going to go over kind of how AWS can help you with intelligent document processing. And if you've been to one of our sessions before, you've probably heard this a few times. But for those of you that are new or need a refresher, because AWS offers hundreds of services, I'm just going to go over that really briefly, and then I'm going to get you right into how you can get started. So our mission at AWS is to put machine learning in the hands of every developer. And we do that by setting up our machine learning stack. So I'm going to focus mainly on the top just because the use cases that we're talking about and invoices and receipts come out of Amazon Textract, which is just the top layer of the stack. But we do split it into 3 layers. And the top is where the AI services sit. And that's where they're managed services. There's no machine experience required. And then we offer many, many different types of services like natural language processing with Amazon Comprehend. Amazon recognition is common in some of our IDP workloads, our intelligent document processing workloads to pull information out of images. We have chatbots with Amazon Lex, and so many more. And I'm just going to touch quickly on those AI services. So I get asked a lot of questions about document processing and how AWS thinks about it because I spend a lot of time talking to our customers, working with our service teams and our WWSO partners, and our account teams on what is document processing and what does it mean to us. And so while it seems simple when I say it sometimes, it's actually a complex problem to solve, as many of you are probably aware. So there's quite a few ways that you can process documents. And like we've talked about before, the challenges is each document and each use case require different processes, which is why AWS has built building blocks for intelligent document processing. And so how we look at it right now is we have 3 underlying services that make up our core use case of IDP. We've got Amazon Textract, Amazon Comprehend, and Amazon Augmented AI, which a lot of us call Amazon A2I. So if you ever come to one of our sessions, like I said before, you've probably learned this, but I'm going to go into each one of them individually very quickly. So Amazon Textract is a service that automatically extracts text and data from any document and goes beyond simple OCR to extract text from tables and forms. Textract now supports 6 languages: German, French, Portuguese, Spanish, Italian, and handwriting recognition and invoices and receipts are supported for English. Amazon Comprehend is the second one. There is a natural language processing service that uses machine learning to uncover information in unstructured data. Comprehend can understand the sentiment in text. It can redact PII, personally identifiable information, or you can use custom named entity recognition to help identify specific entities within a document. And right now, how we're seeing this service used when it comes to document processing is that customers want to pull out information that's potentially proprietary to their company, and you can do that with custom Comprehend. And finally, we have Amazon A2I, or Amazon Augmented AI, which is a human-in-the-loop service that allows you to pull in a human to review any of the output from Textract or Comprehend. And we're seeing customers in highly regulated industries like FSI or financial services and healthcare adding in human reviews to check the output from some of the services. And it's mainly due to the nature of their businesses and the documents that they're processing. So at AWS, you can combine these, you can use one, and we're seeing customers do this in different ways. And whether you use a single service or you use a combine some of these, AWS can provide a powerful way to reduce cost, reduce manual effort, and improve your business outcomes. So now that I've provided you with a quick overview of IDP, Intelligent Document Processing, as well as Raj went over one of the use cases that we're seeing in IDP, which is invoices and receipts. Now I want to get you started. Like, you're probably chomping at the bit to get going. So there are 4 ways, and really there's probably more ways than this, but I'm just going to tell you about 4 with a potential 5th. So the first one is you can run a POC using our document understanding solution. This is a pre-built solution that you can deploy, and it uses the foundational services that we just went over. The only exception is it uses Amazon Kendra, which is an intelligent search. So a lot of customers we're seeing these days, they want to process the data and the text within documents. They want to understand it using NLP, and then they want to put that into their system so that they can use it downstream. And so Amazon Kendra provides you one of those methods of being able to take all of that data and search it. The second is our solution architects. You can engage with any of them. I know quite a few of them. They're awesome support people for our customers, and you can brainstorm what works best for what your situation is. So, like we've talked about all this session is, there are hundreds and hundreds of ways to process documents, and every document is different. So that means you can engage with a solution architect, and you can talk about what your business needs are and what your outcomes you expect, and they can come up with a solution to help you. The third one is the AWS Professional Services team. And we've been using AWS ProServe for a couple of our IDP workloads, and we've seen great success internally with Amazon. And so ProServe is a machine learning acceleration workshop that they can do with you to estimate how much you could save. They can help you implement a POC and what those costs might be. And they can also get you into production and do a POC into production. So they're also a great way to engage with us and engage with our services. And we also have a long list of AWS APN partners that you can use as well. And we usually bucket those kind of into the same area. And then finally, we have the AWS sales and accounts team. If you already have an account manager and you want to learn more about how to process the documents that you have, or if you're new to this and you think that this might be something that you need, you can reach out to your account managers, the sales team, and engage with them to get more information about document processing. And finally, before we say goodbye or get questions going, there's also a plethora of blogs and resources on the AWS website. If you go to aws.com/textract or aws.com/comprehend or any of the other service names, you can get onto the resource pages. You can see videos. We have blogs. We've got documentation. So there are other avenues that you can explore, which is my fifth bullet that's not on this slide. And you can go and look at those blogs. One example is the one that Raj showed in his demonstration. So both Raj and I are happy that you attended and you came and listened to us talk about intelligent document processing and the use case of invoices and receipts. If you ever want to reach out to us on LinkedIn, we're available. We love answering questions, and clearly, at least I know that I enjoy talking about documents, which is kind of funny, but so does Raj. So if you guys have any questions beyond this that you didn't get answered today, we're on LinkedIn, and we're happy to answer any questions. So now that we've done that, thank you for coming, and we will open the floor for questions.